and welcome back to a new episode of Virtual Coffee. My name is Alexa Collier, and on this podcast, I showcase small business owners and we discuss their journeys, perspectives, their pieces of advice. And I'll also do solo episodes where I share what's been on my mind and frameworks or accelerators to help you in your life and at your work, whether that's running a small business or at a 9-to-5 job or whatever you have going on in your life. So today will be a solo episode. It's going to be another a car podcast where I chat while I drive home from work. I found the last one I did a couple weeks ago to be fun. It was really fun to record and to chat on my way home. It kept I kept myself company, I guess, but you listening kept me company. And it's just fun to chat this way. So it might be a little rambly. It's just what's top of my mind. No real plan or structure here, but sometimes those are the best podcasts. And you can listen along while you're driving home or to work or running errands, what have you. And before we jump in, as always, I'd appreciate if you could rate and review Virtual Coffee on the podcast app, on your Apple device, or you can also rate and review us on Spotify. It's greatly appreciated. You can also follow us along on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, really all the social medias. It's all at Virtual Coffee Podcast. So thanks so much for tuning in. Buckle in, drive safe if you're driving, and let's get into this episode. So for today, what's been on my mind is really just how you never truly stop learning about yourself. So this episode would be slightly more philosophical, but it's just been on top of my mind that you really never stop learning about yourself and who you are, and you become more and more self-aware as long as you're not resistant to it. You know, we'll go through life and have really great days, really happy days where everything is fine and you feel like the greatest person ever. Maybe you helped someone or you just did something fun with your partner or friends or family. And then you have some low points in life, right? That's just life, highs and lows and everything in between. And during those low moments, while they can be very tough, if you choose to, you can leave those low moments knowing yourself so much better. And it's just fascinating to me that, you know, after 25 years so far, I'm just still learning so much about myself. And I know that might sound silly because of course you're going to learn more about yourself as you progress in life, but still I'm still the same person. I'm still the same Alexa from when I was born to now, but you evolve and change and grow and you learn that along the way. It's not always obvious what's going on in your head or emotionally, mentally, unless you specifically think about it and are aware of it. So one of my favorite tools to become more self-aware and kind of put words to what I'm saying is the Enneagram. I have several episodes out about the Enneagram. I really like the Enneagram. I know some people don't, but it really is the tool for me. And I find it so helpful rereading through the Enneagram when I feel like I've learned something new about myself, because even though I've read my Enneagram description multiple times, reading it with that new learning and new awareness of myself, it brings just even more meaning to that Enneagram description, to those motivations it lists, to the desires it lists, to the frustrations it lists, or how I act when I'm frustrated or in a happy mood. So really, I've just been thinking about how important it is to embrace self-awareness. And sometimes that's just very hard to do. Sometimes it's very hard to accept who we are as a person, and that sometimes those things can't change, and those, negative things about our personalities or how we act or who we are can't be changed, or maybe they have positives to them too, and so you don't want to change it, but that trait can also come across negative and you want to change it in that instance. It really just fascinates me how much we actually don't know ourselves. I like to think I'm a very self-aware person, and I do think I am, but I still learn so much about myself, and my perspectives change on who I am and how I portray myself to the world all the time. I actually just listened to this TED Talk. I'll link it in the description. I don't remember the woman's name, but like I said, I'll link it. And her TED Talk, it's about 17 minutes long, I think, and it's about self-awareness. And one of the key points in that talk is she emphasizes that you should ask what, not why. And that really blew my mind because also, if you know the Golden Circle framework, Simon Sinek, he emphasizes always start with why, always ask why. And I think, these two concepts are for different situations in life. Simon Sinek's very much talking about building products and building a company and building a solution, where the TED Talk is more talking about your internal monologue, your self awareness. So I understand there are two different situations, but I'd still love to see Simon Sinek and this speaker, this woman speaker, talk about how she wants to ask what and he wants to ask why and then how and then what. So just interesting. But anyway, on this TED Talk, she encourages you to ask what instead of why. That's because when we ask why, we just start to circle in our minds, and I can really relate to this. So say I do something and it ends up being not a great situation, whatever. And I, inside, in my internal monologue, is saying, well, why did I act like that? Why am I the way I am? Why did I do that? And that just leads you down such a negative path, really, really quickly with no true answer. It actually leads us away from being self aware. Instead, I could ask, what? Well, what happened? What was the situation? What could I have done to show people that I actually cared? Or what could I have done to have improved that situation? Or what did I do that led to this outcome, this negative outcome? And it gets you almost to a factual mindset and not a, well, why did I do this? Well, there's no really clear answer why you did something, right? There's always different sides to the story. And then when you're asking what, you're getting very factual. You're getting to that specific answer that you can then act on. When you have that internal monologue and we're in the context of self awareness, asking why really isn't helpful. It doesn't get you to a single answer that you can take action on. Whereas when you ask what, you can take action on what. You can look at the facts and figures and say, okay, this is how I can take action against this. This is how I can do this next time instead of this. It just gets you to a very actionable mindset. So I thought that was really fascinating. You should give the TED Talk a watch if you're interested in self awareness. And I want to buy the woman's book as well. It looked very interesting to me. That's really been top of my mind, is just learning more and more about yourself and just truly accepting who you are and working with that. It's not saying just use your personality traits or your Enneagram type as an excuse to do whatever you want and act out and not be a good person. I'm more just saying truly understand yourself and then work with that. If you have a trait that you don't want or that you don't really like, that's fine. Accept that you have that trait, but try to work with it. Become self aware. Be aware of when you're acting that certain way, or understand the signals your mind or body gives you when you're about to go down that bad rabbit hole, and recognize those single signals, understand who you are, and then change it. And understand who you are when you're in a good place and try to get back to that good place. It's actually quite freeing when you understand your true personality and who you are, and you can accept your flaws, and you can also accept the great things about you. It actually helps you when you're in that flawed state. It helps you get out of it because you know the state you're in, you know why you're in it, you know why you're thinking the way you are, you know why you're doing the things that you're doing, because you know yourself so well, and you know yourself well enough to get back to that good state. Again, just find it very interesting on just learning more about yourself and learning about who you are. And especially as we kind of still kick off Q1 and business speak and we get assigned new work and new goals and whatnot. Also, just knowing what your true motivations are and kind of doing that check at the beginning of the year. I know we talked about goals a couple of weeks ago, and it's just important to recheck those motivations and what you want to accomplish for the year or the foreseeable future. I know for me, pay and promotions were probably my number one motivation a year or 2 years ago. And while they still very much are now, I think they're kind of shifting to maybe second place. And my primary motivation is really just to expand my skill set so I can do deeper and more meaningful work. And that actually surprised me when I realized those motivations in terms of priority kind of swapped, because I am very motivated by money and promotions and climbing to the top. But that did swap this year. And that helped me recognize, okay, I don't need to be so focused on getting that next pay raise. Again, that is still very important to me, but I recognize my number one motivation is now expanding my skill set so I can do more valuable work. And now what can I do to achieve that goal? And that is different than answering, what can I do to get a raise or a promotion? While there's definitely overlaps there, those answers are slightly different. So just doing a recheck on who you are, looking at your Enneagram description again and seeing what resonates still, what doesn't resonate, and see how you can learn about yourself more. Look at the personality quizzes and stuff that resonate with you. It doesn't have to be the Enneagram. There are plenty more out there, just to see from an external source what they tell you about yourself, by you answering questions, and see what resonates, see what doesn't, see if anything surprises you. So I encourage you all to continue to do self-exploration, whatever that looks like for you. For me, it's definitely personality exploration and self-awareness. For others, it means other things. So do what works for you. And yeah, thank you for driving home with me today. I know this was very much a rambly episode, but it's fun to do these every once in a while. And next week we'll pick back up with our small business interviews, which will be very fun. So thank you all so much for listening. As always, I really appreciate your support and for you tuning in. I hope you got home safely if you were driving home, or got to work if you were driving to work, or completed your errands you were running, or whatever you were up to. But again, thanks so much for listening and for tuning in, and I will catch you all next week with a really fun interview from a small business owner. Bye.